So today we're going to be doing some problem solving practice before you have a quiz. So you're going to need a pencil, an eraser, and the record sheet where you're going to be doing all of your work. So if you need any of those things, hit pause, go grab them, and then get started. Okay, as you'll see on your paper, the very first problem that we have there is an example or a model problem. So just follow, you don't have to do anything on the paper, just follow along on the screen and listen to the example as I go through this. So our problem is Juan biked 1 1/10 miles to his friend Mike's house and then to school. He biked 2 7/10 miles in all. What is the distance from Mike's house to school? So the first thing in our problem solving, we always want to think about what are we asked to find? Well, we are asked to find how far it is from Mike's house to school. So when we think of that, we need to think, well, what do we know? Well, we know that it is 1 1/10 miles from Juan's house to Mike's house. And Juan biked 2 7/10 miles in all. So what does that really look like? Well, here's Juan's house. And here's the school. Somewhere in the middle, well, somewhere, maybe not in the middle, is Mike's house. Okay, and we know that he biked 1 1/10 of a mile from his house to Mike's house. We also know that to get the whole way to school, the entire thing is 2 7/10 miles. Okay, so we're asked to find how far it is from Mike's house to the school. So we need to think of an equation for this. Well, what kind of equation could we use? Well, here's our example equation. Oops, hold on one second, guys. Sorry about that. Switch to my pointer. And, okay, here's a little picture. Okay, we know that's 2 7/10 from beginning to end. We know, oh, and some of my little fractions disappeared, that one part of it is 1 1/10, and the other part we don't know. Okay, so here's our equation. 2 7/10, the entire distance, minus the part that we know, 1 1/10, equals D, the distance from Mike's house to the school. So we're going to do that subtraction. So our problem already has common denominators, so all we need to do is line them up and solve. And when we solve it, we end up with 1 6/10 miles, which, when we think about it, can it be reduced? It can be. That should actually be 1 common factor of 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So 1 3/5 miles. Okay, so we want to check this and see, does it make sense? Well, I can flip-flop it around. Okay, well, if 2 7/10 minus 1 1/10 is 1 6/10, if I add the two little mixed numbers together, 1 1/10 plus 1 6/10 equals 2 7/10. So that makes sense. Okay, so now we're going to go into the actual practice problems for you guys. So next thing you'll see on your paper is number 1. And next to number 1 is this problem. Jan walked some distance to the post office. She then walked 7/10 miles from the post office to the mall. In all, she walked 1 1/5 miles. How far did she walk from home to the post office? Now I'm going to do the equation part of this with you guys because this one's a little bit confusing because it says she walked some distance. So we don't know what that is. That's what we're going to have to solve. So we know she walked some distance to the post office and then she walked some more to get to a total of 1 1/15. So next to the spot in your equation, we're going to write, well, P stands for sum, plus 7/10 equals 1 1/5. That's not going to really help us solve it, so we need to rewrite this. Since it's addition, okay, the inverse operation, or the opposite, is subtraction. So we have to flip this and take our total of 1 1/5 and subtract 7/10 from it to actually find out what the distance is to the post office. So fill in these two equations next to the spot on your paper for equation, and then I want you to hit pause. I want you to solve this, and when you're done, come back and check the video to see if your answer is correct. Okay, guys, let's check number 1. Okay, so for number 1, you should have subtracted 1 1/5 minus 7/10. That converted to 2/10 minus 7/10, but we have to do some regrouping there because we can't do 2 minus 7. So took 1 away, brought over 10/10 and added them to the 2/10. So 10/10 plus 2/10 equals 12/10. Now I can subtract 12. 12 minus 7 equals 5/10. Reduce that to 1/2. And our answer is that it's 1/2 of a mile to from home to the post office. Okay, let's go on and look at number 2. Oh, before we go to number 2, remember, on your paper, you need to write down whether you had the correct answer, yes or no, and if you did not, fill in what your error was. Where did you make your mistake? And then you can move on to number 2. Okay, we're at number 2. What I want you to do is go ahead and read the problem. Then I want you to write an equation, and I want you to then come back and check to see if your equation is right. And then, if your equation is right, you're going to pause, you're going to solve, and then come back and check your answer. Okay, so here we go. So your equation for this one should be D or F or Z, whatever your variable is, equals 1 9/10 plus 2 3/4. Okay, so if that's correct, go ahead and solve it. If it's not, rewrite this in as your equation and then solve and come back and check your answer. Okay, guys, here's the answer to number 2. So we took 1 9/10 and added 2 3/4, converted that into 20ths. 18 20ths plus 15 20ths gives us 33 20ths. When we rechange that into a mixed number, because it's improper, end up with 1 13 20ths. And 1 13 20ths plus 3 from over here in the whole number part gives us a final answer of 4 13 20ths miles. Okay, fill in the spot where it says whether you were right or wrong and what your error was if you were wrong. And then we'll move on to number 2. Okay, guys, here's the next problem. I know it says number 9 on the page, but this is the second one on your paper. So go ahead and read the problem, then write what you think the equation is, then come back and check to see if your equation is correct. And then you're going to solve and come back and check then. Okay, guys, here's the equation for this problem. You should have 2 1/3 plus 1 3/4 equals M or F or, I don't know, L or R, whatever you want it to be. Okay, it's addition because he went a distance and then he still needs to go more distance until he can get to the end of the construction. So we want to know from when he started to the end how long the construction was. So if that's your equation, okay, you're going to pause and you're going to go solve. If it's not, fill in this equation, then pause and solve, and then come back and check your answer. Okay, guys, here's my work for this one. So I have 2 1/3 plus 1 3/4, which changes to 2 4/12 and 1 9/12. When I add the fraction part, I end up with 13/12, which when changed into a mixed number equals 1 1/12. My whole number part is 3. When I put 3 and 1 1/12 together, I end up with 4 1/12 miles is the correct label for this question. Okay, remember to fill in the part where it says whether you were correct, yes or no, and if you were not, make sure you fill in what error you made. And then we're going to move on to the last question. Now this last question is an independent practice question. So yes, the question's here, but officially you are done with the video. So you may shut down the video. It was nice doing some problem solving with mixed numbers with you guys. And when you're done with after you shut down the video, you're going to answer this question on your own. You're going to hand it in, and then you're going to take a quiz on adding and subtracting mixed numbers. So come get the quiz from me after you're totally done and your paper is turned in from this video.